Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Hard Drive Studios, a show where we highlight creators and a wide range of media people from CrossFit and the sports industry. Today, I'm joined by Joseph Somakian, aka Life of Josi. He's one of the biggest and most well-known CrossFit content creator in the world. He started his journey back in 2019, where he followed and captured Tia Claire Toomey and Shane Orr on a world tour, then proceeded to meet Craig Ricci and started shooting for him and his channel. From then on, he became a staple in sports media, and you'll probably see his Instagram handle tagged in most athletes' captions. Today, he's the official Europe creator for GoWad Mobility First and FitAid, but wears many hats, including being an athlete agent for Lazar Dukic, Christoph Horvath, and more. Josi, thank you for coming on today, and welcome to Hard Drive Studios.
Thanks for having me, man. Appreciate the nice intro.
Yeah, of course, man. I did some research. Before we start, I just want to give a big thank you to Peter from Coffee Pods and Wads, Chad Mueller, and Callers Bound for giving me a lot of tips and insight into like how to do this podcast shit because this is new to me. This is my first episode. I hope you guys like the little nerd backdrop. I try to do something nice even for the first episode. So yeah, man. Thanks for coming. I think like in a lot of podcasts is like it's always like the introduction, like tell me your name, what your age, like where did you start? It's always kind of boring, right? So
I have a question with the background. So first of all, I love the Mandalorian uh, mask. Like I'm digging it. The other
yeah,
question is right below. Is it like a Harry Potter wand on a stand?
100%, bro.
Nice. I like it. I like it. I'm
So
a
like
I'm a low-key geek in that aspect too. So I
yeah,
enjoy
nice.
seeing these things.
Yeah, last year I went to London to visit a friend, and I went to visit the Harry Potter studios. It's like an hour away from London, and I'm a Potterhead, so couldn't help myself but to get the ones. But first of all, like I wanted, how did we meet? Because obviously I saw your work. I think during COVID. I think it's about that time that a lot of people started seeing your work, right?
Yeah, I guess so because I feel like COVID was the time where like obviously it was on the back end of Dubai. Yeah, Dubai 2018 it was? No, Dubai 2019 and then Waterpalooza 2020. And I feel like those were like with Torian Pro 2018, these were like the three biggest comps I'd ever done. And I felt like my content was kind of catching momentum. And then COVID happened, obviously, right after Waterpalooza. But that was a time where like I was basically at home and had like nothing to do because I was also just starting my video business. So I was just basically like taking whatever I had on the hard drives from Dubai and Torrent Pro and Waterpalooza and just trying to put stuff together. Um,
So actually, in my
yeah,
intro, when I said 2019, I was a little bit behind on the dating. You started in 2018 then,
I think yeah, I think so because
because I did
no,
a
no,
little.
no, 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 no. I started 2019 because I started 2019 because I went. It was the year they had the cuts at the games,
Yeah,
and that was my first time going to the games. That's when Jamie podiumed,
yeah.
and Kristen Holte and
Oh
Noah
yeah,
and BKG. Yeah.
yeah. I remember that year. That was like a weird year. By the way, how was it? Like, just okay. I've got some questions written down, obviously, that I have like right in front of me, but also I like to go like on a roll. Like how
Yeah.
was that first time at the games? Because everything happened quite fast for you, right?
Yeah. So, like, if long story short, I was in university, um, and I would just make videos just to make some money to go partying on the weekends. Like that was
Mhm.
like the main motor of me doing videos. 'Cause I knew I had like some sort of a skill set, so I would just like shoot this restaurant called Aire de Serrano in Madrid, and then I would just take the money and go drink my head off with friends. And then, but things did go quite fast. Obviously, like the Euro tour with Tia and Shane, like I'm so grateful for that opportunity, and Facundo obviously put it all together. Um, and then obviously Row came around, and then the games, and man, that experience at the games was unreal. But honestly, like it was like now when I look back, and especially when I go back now, like a few years later, I'm like, what the hell was I doing there? Like, man, I had no business being in that media pit. I was there,
Yeah.
like I had like a camera. I think the maximum range I had on that lens was like like it didn't even go to 200, and I was shooting like landscape, so honestly the quality was so off, but at the time I was loving what I was doing, and I mean I still love what I do, of course, but it was just so much fun, man. I was just so excited, and then there was all these people that I saw on Fittest on Earth, which is what got me into CrossFit, and I was just like seeing them like in front of me, and it
Yeah.
was unreal. Like one thing I'll always remember that year is on the first workout with the legless rope climbs and the running and
Mhm.
snatches is when like I was seeing like Willie George right in front of me snatching. I was like, holy shit, this is Willie George, and like I've always been a massive fan of Willie George, and now
Did you know
consider
him
him like a
before that? Like, did you know him personally before that games?
no, no. So basically, that year I went to Rogue when I was in Columbus, and um, I just grabbed him at the end of a work, and I was like, "Hey, dude, I'm from Strasbourg, same region as you." And he's like, "Oh, okay, cool." But that's basically all I knew
Okay.
from Willie. Like that's the only interaction we kind of had. He probably forgot. I mean, he had forgotten, and but yeah, it was unreal. Like that was one of the
So
key moments.
so were you there because prior to that you were with Tian Chain and they brought you on? Like, how did you get access to that games?
They kind of like basically like he was like, "Hey, do you want to come to the games?" I was like, "Yeah, sure, I'll come to the games." And then so afterwards, I had a trip planned to Peru. I really wanted to go to the CrossFit Games. I I saved up basically doing my master's degree once I knew this thing was taking off. I really like saved up a lot of money to be able to make this trip at the games. I remember once, like, so it's a really funny story. So one of my best friends, Paul Louis, so like he lived basically like less than 100 meters away from my place, and so there was basically like this 6 week period where I was going to be gone for 2 weeks. He was going to be gone for a week. And then we had another friend at the time, his ex girlfriend was doing like a 2 or 3 month period in Madrid.
Yeah.
And basically, like to save money, I ended up renting her out my apartment. And I went to my friend's house and I slept on his couch for basically a month and a half. He was there for maybe like 3.5, 4 weeks of that 6 weeks. But like, man, his
Oh,
place was tiny. Like, it was basically like bed, couch, desk, kitchen. It was a
a studio.
25 square meter room. Yeah. And we
Holy
stayed in
shit.
that room together for like, yeah, for like 4 or 5 weeks together. It was epic. But that's what I did to save money to go to the games. And
Yeah. Okay, so like that
yeah,
first one you financed yourself. And then
yeah,
like it obviously brought so many opportunities. It's funny you saying that because it's almost what happened with my first games. So obviously I'm a bit more late to the game in terms of where you were at the time, of course. So back in 2019, I think I was still like living in Australia and I was just doing normal like fitness bodybuilding. I was not aware. I was just like vaguely aware of CrossFit, but I never tried it. I always saw this like as the funny butterfly pull up thing, you know. And then I came back from Australia, and I was going through a breakup, and a friend of mine, just one of my closest friend, Quentin, brought me like he dragged me out to a CrossFit gym, and I did my first CrossFit workout. And obviously, then I got like into it and started watching the Fittest on Earth documentaries. So like obviously what you did as well. So shout out to Heber and Mars and all the work that
yeah.
they did on those docs because they're just the OGs, man. No matter what we say, whether you like what they're doing now or not, they are the OGs.
Yeah, man. Like, to be fair, and I guess we're gonna dive into the topic later, but that the two documentaries, Decade of Fitness, so it was the last year in Carson and Redeemed and Dominant, like those two docs were unreal. Like I could still to this day go out and watch these docs. Like they were done so well, especially Decade of Fitness. Like,
Yeah, I agree.
wow, that was cool. That was a really cool one.
And I think it's nice that at the time they were on Netflix because they got pulled out. Even the
Yeah,
Dubai one that I think Patty participated also was on Netflix at some point.
yeah. No,
Um,
I never really understood. I mean, there must be a reason why they pulled them out, but
yeah,
I feel like that really helped the sport grow. I don't think we talk enough about the fact that these documentaries helped build the sport so much. The same way, obviously at a way smaller scale, but that what Drive to Survive did for Formula One,
yeah,
that this like Tour de France documentary is doing for cyclism. I feel like Fittest on Earth really did that for CrossFit to a smaller scale, but it still did it.
yeah. Yeah, 100%. So whenever I started to go to elite competitions, like I was never a fanboy type. Like I don't really care about like having an autograph of like Brooke Wells or getting like a short picture. Like I'm all about like human like
connections.
interactions, right? But the only people where I was like kind of like fanboying was the Buttery Bros. And first time I went to Wodapalooza, I asked them if we could take a selfie, and actually Craig took that picture. Um, and he started by taking a selfie of himself before
Nice.
taking the picture of me with him. So I actually have a selfie of Craig. But they were the only people I wanted to take a picture with. And then I saw them again at the games. And I was like, okay, I'll make it a tradition to just take a selfie with these guys. I don't want to take a picture with anyone else. And then they saw me again at Wodapalooza this year. And they were like, wait, I think I recognize you. And after Wodapalooza this year, I was like super honored. Heber and the Buttery Bro page followed me on Instagram.
Nice. Yeah,
And
I like what they do. I think it's good what they do for the community and just
yeah,
going around, especially like now. I saw they did like a Europe tour, so I'm curious to see what they're going to put out the Europe tour. I think it's the first for them as well, so
yeah,
it'll be nice to see.
yeah, 100%. And they always support the community. We got the people in West Coast that got all their gear stolen, and Heber created that donation thing. So I think they really care about creators. So I think it's important.
Yeah,
But so I want to talk about there's like a few subjects. You have some pretty big clients right now, including GoWatt and Fit8. If you want to talk about a little bit how that started with them, and why did you choose to work with them? Like, how did that go with these two brands? Because they're like your biggest clients right now, right?
yeah. So do you want me to start with Fit 8 or with Go? Because I feel it's like it's two kind of different stories, but they kind of
You
tie
can start
together.
with GoWatt. Let's just say GoWatt.
Perfect. Oh, Go on, man. I love these guys, man. Like Thomas, Romain, Thibaut, man. These guys have done so much for me, and I'm so grateful for these guys. And they're just great people with a great company. And I remember, so just like really like a few years back, so it was strength and depth, pre-COVID, strength and depth. Um, Basically, like that's where I met Romain from GoWatch. So Romain is the marketing guru. There's not many people I listen to in this world, especially when it comes to media, but he's definitely one of the guys I listen to because he has this very good eye and we work very well together. Um, and so at the time, interestingly enough, I was working for a competitor brand on the regular basis. But we started talking when we were at Strength and Depth, and yeah, I just really clicked with him. I remember he was going around with his DJI Osmo Pocket and stuff, and we were just chatting, and he was doing really good stuff. And um, yeah, we kind of started building the connection there. And I'm trying to see what was first, but if I remember correctly, so then COVID happened. Then during COVID, um, I was kind of one of the only guys who was really willing to take the risk and to travel.
Yeah,
And um, I met Christoph through Fit8 on a shoot in Barcelona. And then a few months later, so January of
20.
2021,
Oh, 2021.
after COVID, Chris was like, "Hey, do you want to come to Mallorca and spend a few days here and get to meet Gabby?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure, let's do it." And then I reached out to GoWard and I was like, "Hey guys, I'm going to be with Gabriel Miguela, one of your athletes. Would you like me to shoot some content for you guys while I'm there?" And they're like, "Yeah, sure." So I did that quick video of Gabs for them, and then oh man, so I think it was still like the online games that year, like the online
Yeah.
semifinals. So I think I did some stuff for them during the online semifinals, and then also that summer, Willie was putting on like a big camp with some
Yeah.
of the best French athletes, and GoWater was supporting it by being a sponsor of it. So we did like a three-part series um, on that training camp that GoWater sponsored, and I guess from there it kind of became like a no-brainer that every time like something would come up in Europe, the guys from GoWatt would be like, "Hey, do you want to shoot?" And I would be like, "Yes," just because I really enjoy the way these people do things. I feel like
Yeah.
the effort they invest in their athletes, in their employees, in their product, in their service is
Yeah.
just unmatched.
And
Like,
so is that the way you met Willie then?
yeah, so I met Willie in the elevator in Dubai,
Oh,
2020 it was. So in the
okay,
back
okay.
end of COVID, that's how I met Willie.
So a bit before.
Yeah, a little bit before I'd met Willie, and then we did some stuff together with GoWat. The one thing I want to shout out GoWat for and this is one thing I think we don't talk enough as content creators, is the
Yeah.
fact that sometimes, like you know it as well as me, it's like sometimes you can wait weeks to get paid. And one thing that I love with GoWat is basically like you send these guys your invoice for your work, and literally like within the hour, like the money's on your
Oh,
account.
I fucking love that.
And
Yeah.
like I don't want to like seem like I'm talking all about money and whatever, but like we know as content creators, like making a living is not necessarily the easiest thing, especially in a sport like CrossFit, and
Yeah.
being able to work with brands that like value the people they work with to this
Yeah.
extent is unreal.
No, 1,000,000%. Like, and I think there's no off limits topics I want on this podcast. Like, the goal is not to make like a generic, podcast show where we talk about like the rain outside. I want to talk about
Yeah,
these topics as well. So I think it's really important to talk about money as well. It is part of our lives, and like we're freelancers, right? So like some of yeah, most of people don't know, but like a lot of, let's say 80% of creators out there that you see on like local comps and stuff like that, like they do this as a part-time thing on the side of their main job, right? So like one can be like an affiliate owner, or another guy can just be a dentist or whatever, and they do like content creation as kind of like a hobby or something that they want to get their hand at, and but if they don't get a shoot, or if something get canceled, or if they get paid a little bit later or whatever, like it doesn't affect them as much because they have their main income, right? But
yeah,
for us, that's how we pay rent, that's how we pay for the doctor, that's how we pay for groceries, right? So
absolutely.
like we always appreciate when clients like pay right away, even though a lot of companies, of course, have a 30-day, sometimes 60 days period.
Yeah. I mean, for me, like now my rule of thumb is basically like if I know like people like slack on like payments and I have to like chase them down for like months and months, like I just won't work with them anymore. Like,
Yeah,
unfortunately, like all the people I work with, there's also like Pixel and FitAid and Craig and Jazz, and I do like the YouTube for them. Like I've started working with RX Performance recently from Sweden. Like they're
yeah,
all like very, very um clear and clean in that regard. Like they always pay on time and they
yeah,
respect that. And
yeah.
um I feel like it's also like a natural thing. It's like, hey, if you deliver, like you want the other party to deliver as well on their end, and I feel like it just shows like it's a sign of mutual respect as well in a certain way.
Yeah, for sure, 100%. But also, like, I get it. Sometimes if it's the first time you're working with a brand, like whether that's you with a brand or the brand with a creator, there needs to be trust built over time. And I always preach that on social media. It's build relationships, right?
Yeah,
And that's when, like, on both sides you'll get a lot out of it. And the clients that pay me the fastest are the clients that I've known for the longest and that built relationships with. So of course, to me, that there is a gray area where, of course, I understand some big companies that I did some stuff for Reebok Europe, outside the floor, in semifinals. Like a lot of these big companies, they have like a 30 or 60 day, um uh, you know time frame to
payment term.
pay.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I get that, like they have a lot of employees, especially these big companies. So but yeah, if after like 2 3 months you still get nothing, like it's also a no-go for me. I get that.
yeah,
So tell me about Fit8. How did that start?
yeah. So FitAid was very interesting. So 20. So when the sanctional season started, Craig and I went to Filthy 150. That was 2019, end of 2019. So Craig and
Okay.
I went to Filthy 150. Um, and then Sarah was there, and so basically like I just I was just there shooting for Craig's channel, and like the deal I always had with Craig, and I mean I still have, is basically he's like, hey, as long as I have the stuff for the YouTube channel, like you can shoot whatever you want and whoever you want. So at the time, I was kind
No,
of trying to
sick.
make myself like a portfolio and whatever, and then Sarah was there, and I just basically started like making like just like Instagram videos for Sarah of the competition, like very very OG Josi content,
Yeah.
um, and um, and yeah, and basically I was just like sending Sarah videos after each workout, and she was liking them, and her agent Snorri Barron wasn't always is like very nice to me, and he praised my work, and then in Dubai, like I think FitAid wanted some content of Sarah, so he connected me with FitAid,
Okay.
and then so I did a little bit of stuff with FitAid in Dubai, and then at Wadapalooza, and that's when I connected with our friend Linda. Um,
Ah.
oh, I want to talk about that topic because basically. So we started working together on that, and then Linda came up to me a few months later. Um, and for those who don't understand, Linda is Linda Keesman, who just qualified to the games.
Yeah.
But she was marketing manager at Fit8 at the time, and
True.
so she messaged me. I think it was maybe like in April or May of 2020, with went so basically like mid COVID, and she's like, "Hey, we want to do this thing called Fit8 on tour. We want to go to different countries, and we want to highlight our different Fit8 athletes. We just need a content creator who's willing to travel in this whole mess of COVID."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Yep, let's go." At the time, like also, it's a funny story, but when I graduated university, I basically was like, "Hey, like I'm going to travel so much with Craig over the next year. Like I don't need to have an apartment or my own place."
Yeah.
So I was like, I'll just live at my mom's place. The only thing is, my mom is a one-bedroom apartment. So I was like, when I would go to my mom's place, I would sleep on a sofa bed. And when
Wow.
COVID happened, I'll basically spend 6 months in a sofa bed in my mom's apartment.
Wow. Yeah.
And then I was like, yep, I'll get off the sofa. Like I'll travel. And so yeah, and then we started traveling, and so that we went like Amsterdam first. That's where I met Linda, like face to face, really
Yeah.
for the first time. I met her Sid very fast, quickly, but then it was her, Jeremy Nenke. Then I
Yeah.
went to Paris. Man, I remember like the day I landed in Paris mid COVID. Man, that airport was empty. There was no one.
Yeah.
It was
It's
it was it
crazy.
was scary, man. But so then we did that with Edison Rani, and then we did so with Kevin Winkens in Germany, and then a few weeks later we did Barcelona with Christoph, which I'm so grateful for because that led to like wonderful things. And
Yeah, of
then
course.
um, and then funny enough, I want to talk about it. Then went to Italy with Linda, and then that's the first time she got 10 unbroken ring muscle ups, and she was so happy.
Oh,
And that's
sick.
and I was like, girl, you have potential. Like you could go to the game. She's like, nah, I just enjoy training. I just enjoy having fun. And look at her now.
Yeah. Bro,
But
that's
yeah, that's
crazy
how
how
we
you
built the
just said that.
relationship.
It's exactly her.
It's exactly her.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But it's good that
Um,
she slowly got the confidence. But that's really cool, man. Like when I think about it, like even in a period like COVID, I hope we're not gonna get a fucking strike for saying COVID or whatever, but fuck it. Um, but you traveled so much, man. If you think about just the world tour you did with Tia and Shane, and then just traveling with Fit Aid and then with Craig, like you, bro, you put on some miles.
Man, my biggest regret is like obviously because I travel a lot of times low cost, but if I put everything on a card, then I would have so many points. So
Yeah,
one thing I have is I have a tradition, and I always keep it going, is that
yeah,
every time I travel,
yeah,
I take a phone boarding pass, but I'll also like take physical boarding pass. Man, I have like
yeah.
a stack like this of boarding passes.
Oh shit,
And so I'm basically
that's really
keeping it
cool.
because I have an art piece in mind I want to put together one day. I just need
Yeah,
like a lot of boarding passes. And no, man,
yeah,
it's great. Like I've always wanted to travel. Because like when I was back in like during my studies and my bachelor, like I did go through like a pretty harsh breakup, and um like a pretty bad depression, if I can call
mhm,
it like that. And I was very unwell for 2 3 solid years. And
yeah,
I was seeing like a psychiatrist at the time, and basically like she's like, hey, what do you want of your life? And one of the things that I vividly remember telling her was like, I want to be able to basically like live off my passion and live off a suitcase and just travel the world. And I feel like I've manifested that by my hard work.
yeah,
And so, man, I'm so grateful and blessed. Like I got and I still get to do these things.
yeah,
But also, I think that what a lot of people don't see is just like the physical impact it put on you.
yeah.
Like my lower back is messed up from like just sitting on a plane. Like there was a year
So
I took 96 flights.
that's perfect because it's yeah, the perfect segue into what I wanted to talk about next, which is the grind. So I wanted to get your thoughts like on the grind cultures because I see so many creators, myself included when I started, killing themselves to climb the ladder, barely sleeping, not working out as often as they would want to, eating bad during events, and stuff like that. And yeah, man, I know you've been through it, so if you want to talk more about that
Oh man, there's some crazy stories. You should ask Alex Rumsey one day when like it was
from the
like I think it
program.
was yeah from the program. Like I think we were sharing a hotel room with 2021 games, and I was smashing C4 pre-workout at like 4 in the morning to stay awake and finish my edits.
Uh,
That was crazy, man. Like no. like there was a time where like I would really like torture myself, and like you said, like the just like that grind culture. I
Yeah,
had the energy at the time. I'm not gonna lie, like I don't have that same energy anymore.
yeah.
Like right now, like I can't do it anymore.
But do you feel it
I
was necessary?
Yes, 100%. Now, so like now, like here's the question I still ask myself, and I'm by asking myself the question now, I kind of have the answer, which is why would I stay up and edit the video, which now would take me maybe like 1 hour to edit. It took me
Yeah,
like 3 hours to edit. And I feel like it comes down to skill set. It comes down to like shooting efficiency when you're at a competition. And it comes down to basically having like more priorities
yeah,
and also like being able to utilize the time before a competition and during a competition to be
yeah,
able to like start like getting stuff out of the way.
yeah.
So if you want me, I can develop on that. I
No, yeah,
feel like
sure.
I feel like especially the first years when you go to the CrossFit Games or like a big competition, you want to shoot everyone. You want to get a shot of everything. You want to, and you basically like end up like loading your memory cards with so much stuff. And you know it as well as me. It's like you might use like 10% of it.
Yeah,
And out of maybe if you have like 100 like clips of a workout, maybe like 30 of them are going to be just like shaky clips. But when they're in your timeline or like in your project file, you're still going to look at them because you don't really remember, right?
yeah.
So I feel like that's one thing. It's like when you, the more time you spend doing it, the more experience you get, the more you learn how to basically like, and I still struggle with it now, but it's like you learn how to
Be selective.
like select your frame, be like, okay, this is the clip I want. You select your frame, you select the focus, then you press record, right? So then when you go on your computer, you have less clips, but you know that your clips are good. I think that's one thing. Second
Yeah,
thing is I feel like kind of narrow down like what you want to shoot and who you want to shoot.
yeah,
I used to be the kind of guy who would try and shoot everyone. Now, like I'm not afraid to say it. Like I'm there to like basically like take like shoot the content for my clients. So like the athletes that are sponsored by them
yeah,
and my friends who
yeah,
I basically like and I can like I spend year round like seeing and like basically being around them when they train.
yeah.
Also, I feel like prep work comes into place more and more, and I work with a mental performance coach now.
Oh,
Just on yeah, just on like, but on many things like just like life in general, like work-life balance and just like work in general and training and all that stuff. And one thing
cool.
we've started working on together over the past couple of months is basically like optimizing workflow through competitions for me not to like basically dig myself in a hole, right? So
Yeah,
now before every competition, like we'll make a plan. Okay, how can you be the best prepared for this competition?
yeah.
I'm not gonna say how I get prepared for these competitions,
No, for sure.
but like we put things in place where basically like when I go to competitions, I'm incredibly efficient in my workflow.
That's
And
really cool.
then also like I developed this mindset more and more now where it's like don't expect to do later what you could have done now.
Yeah,
So if I have like 20 minutes between two workouts, just unload the memory card, like sort like three clips, do something, like set up your timeline. Just use the 20 minutes
yeah,
because the 20 minutes you can save there, you can then save them on sleep in the evening. The 20 minutes you save on you save on sleep that night, like helps you like you get 20 minutes more of recovery. So you're like
yeah.
fresher the next day, right? So it's trying to like optimize these small things. And I feel like that's really like
It's
where you keep that grind culture, but you're smarter in the way you grind.
Man, I love that answer. First of all, thank you so much for sharing. Man, it's funny because like sometimes in my post I compare athletes to creators because even though our jobs are very different and we perform in very different ways, of course, um, we do have some similarities in the sense that a lot of athletes have mental coaches, right? To help them perform better, to help them be in a better mindset. And when you just said you got a mental coach for yourself, even though you're not an athlete, like I mean, you do CrossFit, but you're not an elite athlete. You
Part
still
of that.
need that mental prep, and I think it's really cool because we don't talk about mental health a lot in the space, and especially not for creators. I agree. Like the grind is necessary at first. Like man, you got to like to get yourself get your name out there. Of course, I also started like by shooting every single person, every single athlete. You're a little bit starstruck as well. You try to get so many big names in your videos, and then you pin them on your Instagram to say, "Hey, look, I shot an athlete," but actually the real looks like shit. And you go through sleepless nights, and if I think you told me one day you even had a few burnouts.
Yeah, man. I'm not scared of like talking about it openly. It's like I completely burned out. I feel like just coming back to like the topic of like similarities within the job. Like I don't think people realize how stressful our job is.
Yeah,
I like especially as external media. I don't think people understand like how hard these weekends are on our bodies and just like the the amount of like how much you need to be like dialed in
yeah,
of basically like getting the content you need. Because at the end of the day, it's like especially like brands, like say you're working with a brand who sponsors Bronislav, right?
yeah,
And at the end of the day, the number one thing the brand is going to want Bronislav's last snatch on the snatch ladder and a celebration.
yeah,
If you miss it, you're screwed.
yeah.
If someone like if a judge passes in front of you or the broadcast passes in front of you, you're
You're
screwed.
screwed.
Like you missed the shot, right?
Yeah,
At the same time, it's like you're shooting something, but at the same time, you need to be like mentally aware of what's going on the floor, and so you don't miss something.
yeah,
Then you're basically like running around in like a tiny media pit, packed with people, half of which should not be there, and you're just
yeah,
like trying to like push each other, elbow each other out. Then you're basically like running around trying to find a quiet place where you can edit.
yeah,
For me, I also have like the extra stress where like I'm so emotionally involved in a
yeah,
few people's performance, those being Lazar, Gabby, and this year like the Orca team and
yeah,
Laura, that like basically it's like it's an extra stress because like obviously I'm shooting the men's heat, but I'm always like keeping an eye out on Lazar because I want to make sure he's doing good, you know.
yeah,
So I just think like the whole accumulation of things, and then at the end of the day, like, hey, when the
yeah, yeah.
day's over, when it's 7 p.m., if everyone can go, like restaurant, recovery dinner, it's like, no, 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 you're gonna go on your computer and like now the work starts, you know. So
Heck yeah, yeah,
and I
yeah.
like it. Like I'm not complaining by any means. Like I
For
love what I
sure,
do,
for
but
sure. Like I also
it
wanted
is
to
the
say,
reality of the job.
yeah, exactly. I wanted to say, like, we're not here to complain or whatever. Like, we chose this career and we love
Absolutely.
our job. We absolutely
Yeah.
love our job. We love what we do. But it is something, to be talked about because, like you said, when athletes, they get to finish their workout and go rest, we are on edit mode and, at night as well. And when you're shooting, like you said, you're thinking about the shot you want to get. You're thinking about being stable. You're thinking about like the athlete that you're emotionally involved with, like all that stuff. Like, I also have like athletes I'm really emotionally involved with, like in competitions. I'm not an athlete agent like you, but I did build relationships with some of them, like Guillaume Briand or Linda, because I train in the same gym. Or
Yeah, you
somebody
lose your
asked.
voice every time when these guys go on the floor, man. You lose your voice.
Yeah, that's something maybe I should start pacing more. But the thing is, like, bro, I love supporting my friends, whether it's like a small local comp or a gym comp even, or elite CrossFit at the games or whatever. Whether that's like my Norwegian people, because I work for Kristen Holton Krieger Training sometimes. Like, I always want to support, and I remember like when I went to Dubai for the first time last December. Was sick, by the way. I really liked that competition, and we had a lot of access. That was really cool.
Yeah.
And that was the one thing I really liked about that competition, is just like, they were just okay, yeah, go. Like, we had some t-shirts, and I remember one of my friend Veshleme, she was competing one of the first time there, for her first time there, sorry, as an indie, and there was like some skier, some, like, I don't remember exactly the workout, but like I was just with her filming, but also like step by step, just like, come on, you got this.
Yeah.
And some athletes zone out and they don't hear you. They have like tunnel vision. I know Andrea Solberg, she doesn't hear shit, for example. But I know other athletes like Veshleme, for example, or Ingrid Hodnemir, they hear everything. And she told me after that, like, man, like you being there and like, pushing me through, like it just made me finish the workout.
Yeah, and I think it's great. Like I think it's the kind of relationships you want to build because at the end of the day, it's like I I know that like I'm not going to be doing this forever. But at the same time, it's like I know that like some of the people I met through this, like if I
Yeah.
get married one day, I'm touching wood, like some of these people, like they're gonna be the first people I invite because like I've built a relationship with them which goes beyond just like pressing on recording the camera and taking a picture. And for me,
Yeah.
like that's why I do it now. It's
Yeah.
like I don't do this for the money anymore or for like the Instagram followers like most people do in our space now, but I do it more for like the relationships I'm building for my friends and just to like be
Yeah.
able to be like a small part of their journey. And I feel like you're doing the same as well. I think that's really cool. And I feel like we need more people to like adopt this mindset.
Yeah.
Because also like I feel like when you do it for the right reasons, this being one of them, your content is going to automatically be so much better. And I feel like
Yeah.
it reflects on the stuff you put out.
Oh, 100%. It's funny you're saying that because I think it's one of the first tips you gave me. So we met to just circle back a little bit, talk a bit about something a little bit lighter. I met you for the first time at Lowlands Throwdown. I had just moved to the Netherlands a year before and started training at Volon Gym in Amsterdam, which is where a lot of the athletes were doing their drop-ins before the
Yeah.
semifinal there. And you came in, I think you were with Craig, and we barely, knew each other. I think I heard about you from a friend from Toulouse named Aladdin,
Oh, you know
who,
Aladdin filmmaker.
yeah, 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 because he was
Man,
she's
he's such
shooting
a good
for,
dude, man. I love that guy. I've never
yeah,
met him, but like I've talked with him on Instagram and I watch his YouTube, man. What a good dude.
bro, he's awesome. Like he used to have a behind it, so he shoots a really one of the biggest YouTuber in France called Thibaut in Shape. He has like 18 million followers or something.
20
Um,
million, man. He broke 20
or
million this weekend.
20 mil, holy shit. She's also the guy that got me into fitness, like, and I lost 25 kilos. Anyway, that's another story. But and now he has like a repair, construction, building YouTube, which is growing a lot.
Yeah. I
And
loved
yeah,
following him building his house, man. Like it's like
yeah,
I loved watching those videos. It kind of made me want to like renovate, like get a house and just renovate it from like scratch.
exactly, man. He's really good at it. And basically, he shoots for Thibaut in Shape, which who made a video with Willie Georges, and I think that's how maybe you got to know him. But um, and I remember like so I knew you from there a little bit, and I used the music that you used on one of Craig Rishi's reel, which is Drake. What was it?
KMT,
Yes. And I remember
KMT,
like I
Drake.
remember
Yeah, what a song.
Aladdin DM'd me, and he was like, "I think Josie's pissed because you used the same music on your reel."
Oh man, I used to get so pissed about like stupid shit like that.
Bro, you got so pressed, and it wasn't even a reel for an athlete; it was a reel for me. I just like the music.
Yeah, probably, man. I was weird at the time, man. I was so protective of my thing and
I
what I
get
was
that.
doing, and like looking back, like I kind of like I cringe at it now, like thinking back. But hey, like
Yeah, it's
at
okay.
least I'm aware of it.
Yeah, for sure. Like I'm very different from when I started. But basically, anyway, what I want to say is like we met in Lowland Throwdown, and one of the first tips you gave me after that, because we saw each other again, I think at Wadapalooza. No, it was German Throwdown. You were on the media team, and you told me because I wanted to do like a little documentary on Guillaume Briand into 2023. And you told me, man, like you got to build relationship with the athletes, and then when you approach them, when you film them during competitions or when they do a qualifier, like you'll get so much more out of them. Yeah.
Yeah, man, for sure. Like
Um.
I think
So
it's a number one thing. Like people, like it's not comfortable having a camera point at your face. Like
yeah,
it's not the nicest thing. Like I mean, you've done like some tutorial and twist videos. Like you know how it feels once you like you have a camera and it's just you and you start speaking, like you start losing your words and mumbling a bit. So when you
yeah,
have a good relationship with people, like that helps.
yeah, 100%.
And you
So I
have
want
that.
to, yeah, thank you, man. Appreciate that. You have that as well. Like it's important. I wanted to ask you, what made you choose to do that full time? Like, what was the point where you were like, fucking, let's do this?
I feel like no matter what I do in life, I'm a very binary person. I'm all in or nothing.
Yeah,
So for me, I was like, hey, like if I want to like do something good, I need to go all in.
yeah,
And I'm very lucky that my mom and my dad were very supportive of what I wanted to do. And we had a deal with my parents when I was in university and I was struggling with university. They're like, hey, listen, like You finish, you do your bachelor's degree, your master's degree, like we'll give you like a full year of support to do whatever you want.
Yeah.
But they're like, you hold your end of the bargain, we'll hold our end of the bargain. And I'm so grateful that they made me push through like my university, etc., especially when I wanted to quit. Because I
Mhm.
feel like now, like looking back, especially like where I studied and whatnot, like it helped like some sort of like discipline and um, kind of like mental toughness, if you can say, which I wouldn't have if I'd quit. Um, and yeah, then I was basically like, yeah, just go all in. Like I felt like nothing. If it's like if you're gonna do it by yourself, like just try and do it well. And
Yeah.
yeah, I just went all in, and
Yeah.
it worked. It worked out.
Uh,
Thank God it
I,
worked out.
yeah, exactly. Thank God. But we work hard as well. But I I think it's an advice I gave in one of my reels on Instagram at some point. Not that I'm a reference for anything, but I think it's important if you do want to improve as a content creator, whether that's like photography, videography, whatever, or media in general, you got to give this a shot at some point full time. um because if you have another job on the side and you just want it to be a hobby, that's fine. A lot of guys, they just like to go to local comps or just come to competitions, and which can sometimes be a little bit annoying for us because we're trying to get our client work.
Yeah.
And some guys just like walk in front of us, like to shoot their favorite athletes or whatever.
So I
um
feel like I can agree with what you said. But that being said, I think it's there. I think there's a nuance to it where it's like, yes, you have to do it full time, but then it's like not necessarily just in CrossFit. I feel like we, especially myself, you maybe a bit less because you came in a little bit later.
mhm,
Um, I feel like we came in the right moment where there was a lot going on in the
yeah,
space in terms of like events and brands investing money. Like now, the more times goes by, the more I feel like I don't think there's enough money in the sport at the moment of CrossFit
mhm,
for everyone to go full time in media.
yep,
So I feel like if you want to go full time, like you need to start looking also at like other things like high rocks and maybe like bodybuilding or like doing like videos like weddings and corporate stuff on the side and like just to like keep the money flowing in the bank
yeah,
basically.
yeah,
If you're starting out now, I feel like if you're more of like an OG or like someone who started like earlier and who's built like good relationship with brands and you have to work year long, like yeah, you have to go all in.
yeah.
But I
One
don't
of
but
the
like there's like you look at life of like Anders, like life of mom, like he doesn't do this full time, but like
No, for sure.
he
Yeah.
could do it full time, I think.
Yeah.
His skill set would definitely make him a good living out of it.
But I
But
think he
also,
doesn't want to.
no, I don't think, and
I
mm,
think he likes having other stuff.
yeah, I think a lot of people like having other stuff on the side and making this like a side hustle.
Yeah.
If
100%.
they're good at it, and if it works for them, like it's better. I also
Yeah.
feel like for our work job, and I feel like you probably feel as well, it's very seasonal. Like now, for example, like I know that between like semi-final, basically end of quarterfinals to the games is the busy period of the year. More brands want to like, like invest in content.
Yeah.
Like this is generally the period where, you know, brands start like showing interest in athletes and we bring them on their team. So obviously they want to create content around them. But
Yeah.
then man, you have like these periods where it's like dead, man. Like end of this like
Heck yeah.
post Wadapalooza to end of Open, man, nothing's going on.
I was gonna say exactly that, bro. When
Even like
and
September is a bit like September, October, like unless you're going to like Rogue, and even like for us,
but
I
you
mean
got
now it's
you.
in Europe, but like if you go to like going to Rogue in Texas, like man, it's
Yeah,
like
it's tough.
October, there's not much going on. December, there's just Dubai, but
Yeah. I want to hear
it's
about
like
Rogue later, by the way, because I've never been and I want to hear about it. But yeah, I agree, man. Like for me, well, you got some competitions. You got Madrid, you got German Throwdown, which I'm really grateful to be a part of. It's the only competition where I'm on the media team now, and I really like it doing it again this year. But yeah, man, from after Wadapalooza to even like quarters, I don't always get something. Um, I was really lucky that this year I went for Krieger to shoot team quarterfinals. But yeah, man, we got some
yeah,
hollow
very
season.
very hollow
I
parts of the
think
season.
a guy that's really smart and I really look up to regarding doing different things, and I think really succeeded at that is Carlos.
Yeah.
The guy shoots like swimming, golfing, strongman competitions. Like the guy is like he's like if I want to be somewhere, it's where he is. He's at.
Yeah. I feel like Carlos is a great example of like someone who's obviously like he's very, very good at what he does, both photo and video. But then like he's managed to like lock himself in like a position where like yes, CrossFit is like in the season, like it's just like if you take like the whole year, like he will like place like I feel like I don't know maybe he doesn't but I think he does like he'll place like here are the major CrossFit events of the year and then like he'll build the schedule around the CrossFit season, right? I feel like that's where you want to get with
Yeah,
when you're full time. It's like okay, like if you're in CrossFit for example, like yeah, you want to have an idea of like what the season looks like and then like just start building
yeah.
around it.
It was just a small question I wanted to get out of the way before we continue with the rest. I have something that I've written down for, I think, for every episode I wanted. It's called the butterfly effect question. So it's like, what is that one gig, that one moment in time you can trace back in your memory that you feel opened up the biggest doors for you in the space, if you have that moment? I know, deep question. A moment where it's like, it created a snowball effect where everything started for you.
Man, that's a very good question, man. That's a
To give you an example of mine, for example, when you still think about it, what for me was lowlands throwdown. It was the first time I was in an elite competition. It was the first time I met, for example, Snorri. It was the first time I met PC, Patrick Clark. It was this competition in terms of like connections and like getting to know elite CrossFit and just learning the grind and watching like you guys work and everything. That was like a pivotal moment for me.
yeah. So I feel like I don't feel there's like one because I feel like if you get one opportunity and like you do good in it, but then you don't follow up on it, like it's it's not
True.
really like worth it. So obviously, I feel like the Europe tour with Tia was definitely like one of the biggest ones.
Yeah.
But then also like Dubai 20, I'm getting lost in these years. Dubai 2019, I feel like that opened up a lot of doors because there I was doing some videos for like Björgvin and Sarah, um, and just like
Yeah.
a big bunch of athletes. So I feel like at that time that was like the biggest one.
Yeah.
Um, and then like
Yeah. But if I think about it, I mean,
I
obviously,
think I think it was Dubai 2019. Like there was also like Torian Pro 2019 as well opened a lot of doors.
okay.
Um, yeah,
Like, I really want to go to that competition. How's Torin Pro, by the way?
it's sick, man. It's epic. Like everything about that comp is just great. Like if we start like the media room, man, like oh
Yeah.
man, you get your media room, you got a like a 4K like screen waiting for you. You got like comfortable chairs, charging station, whatever, more than enough space. Everyone
Wow.
in Australia is so nice. Like I feel like it's the only competition where I go where like spectators, if you pass in front of them, because like so the times I went, I would like the media pit, you kind of have to go through the crowd to get in the pit, or sometimes you have to shoot from the crowd. It's the only
Oh,
competition where I don't get like told off. Um, and then also like the organizers, they put on an amazing event. Everything runs on time. The crowd, man, is unreal. Like from the first to the last heat, like people go nuts, and that's
wow.
really good to see. They put on the fireworks for everyone. Just in terms of like even simple thing like food, man. Like there's so much food options, and you know, like us for us,
Wow.
sometimes like we don't have time to wait at the Pokeball truck for 35 minutes to get food. There, man, there's so many options. You can always get food.
Bro, that's crazy. It
Yeah,
reminds
Torian Pro
me,
is epic.
that reminds me, we're talking about food, about the first day at French Throwdown this year, where the only thing I ate during that entire day was a protein bar. And the next day, Patrick Anston from Finland, that we both know and we really like that guy. He was eating some chicken and rice. He was like, "Bro, eat with me. Like, let's share because you gotta get some food in you." Like, I like how we take care of each other during competitions.
Yeah, I think it's important. Like I'm so lucky, man. I like obviously like we had like Emma who works with Gabby who was there. She's like, Josie, have you eaten? I was like, yes, I've eaten. And then obviously like I had so much like baby food because like we had a lot of baby food in the grow water room. And then like Simon. My guy Zone to Recovery. He's a guy who trains my gym, and he's a great physio. He came to take care of the girls and of the team. Like every time he'd come to me, he's like, "Hey, did you eat?" I was like, "No." It's like, "Here we go." He's like, "Hey, did you drink?" I was like, "No." Here's water. Like he would kind of take care of me. So it's important, man, on these events, like to
Yeah.
fuel up. This is one thing we've worked on with the mental performance coach. Is also like coming back to like basic needs: food, hydration, sleep.
Yeah.
Things like
We,
three pillars we try to work around, especially on competitions.
Yeah, which is circling back to like the first grind culture thing we were talking about earlier is like the more you get to know yourself and the more you get to know how to work at these competitions, the more I think it's important to like really be careful about the health side of things.
Yeah,
Get your sleep, get your food in. The grind is cool and it's important, and I think we all kind of have to go through it, even if we don't want to. But yeah, taking care of your health during competitions is like super important, just as much as an athlete. So talking about competitions, but also just like clients in general, if you're comfortable talking about it, I just wanted to ask you, how do you charge clients and how has that evolved over time? Now, I know it's a bit of a vague question, but you can just, separate it like competitions, local shoots, gym shoots, like how did you approach that?
I
You don't have to say numbers, but
no, no, like I won't say numbers, but like it's not my favorite topic, I'll be honest, but like basically like if I can break it down a simple way, it's basically like I have a day rate for shooting, I have a day rate for editing, and I have a
yeah.
rate for competitions. And then
Okay.
I have like a rate for like I'll adapt my rate for like specific things or like specific requests. Like I'm willing to be
Flexible.
flexible.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of how I work.
Yeah, cool. No, it's just I wanted to get it in there, not to go so much deeper in it, but because I always have that question, like in the DMs from like creators who are just starting, like, hey man, like, like I have no idea because sometimes you can get imposter syndrome, like you don't know what your content is worth, and they're asking me like, how do you charge this and that, and it's obviously tricky to give numbers, so I usually don't share them, but I say like, hey man, like start small. And like work your way up, and and then
Yeah,
slowly you'll start to get less clients but who pay more, but you obviously have to start with like a lot that pay maybe a little bit less. But
yeah.
um so if you're comfortable with sharing, what do you feel is the biggest problem in our industry right now?
Oh man, there's so many.
I know,
There's so many.
but we got to
First,
get into the teeth of it,
man,
you know.
yeah, let's go, man. Like hit me, man. First of all, there's way too many people doing shit for free, man. Like I understand like people want to like get their Instagram following up and they think that having like X amount of followers on Instagram is gonna like make them someone, but it's not the reality of things. Like I feel like just having just a bunch of followers just because you do stuff for free and you take pictures of everyone, like it'll maybe bring you like a shoot or two, but it's not gonna bring you much.
Yeah,
But there's so many of these people who just like I'm gonna be very harsh, but who kind of are like parasites sometimes at
yeah.
competitions as well. Um, I think that's one thing. I understand that you want to be. I understand the mindset of always do more than what you get paid for, but like know your worth in a certain way. So I feel like that's like a big problem.
Mhm.
Um, I feel like the other big problem, and it's not really a problem, but I feel it's like more of like an evolution of the space, and I feel like you've adapted to it really well with cryo training. I think I've adapted to it quite well with Gabby, especially, and with Lazarus. That more and more people, they're like athletes, they're or agencies, they're trying to like build like a circle around them because now at this point, like it's not only what you put up during competitions, but it's also what you put up like outside of competitions, right? So it's not a problem. It's just more like how the industry has shifted, where it's like I feel like athletes and they're locked into like their own like media person or
Yeah.
like their own like crew.
Mhm.
And I feel like it can make it hard for someone who doesn't have these connections to come in.
Mhm.
Um, Also, like
I
I don't think there's like enough money in CrossFit media, man. I think that's like the reality of things, where it's like there is just like man, like some of the work we do, like if we went to other sports, like we would make like five, six, seven times the amount of money we make in other sports.
Yeah,
Like
100%.
I'm gonna like I'm not gonna give figures, but like, man, I've heard numbers about like what some people I know make in Formula One for one Instagram reel, which is very, very attainable within our skill set. Man, I was shocked.
Was it in Dubai you learned that?
No, it wasn't in Dubai. I learned that, but it's like it's. I was like, wow. So, and it's normal because F1 is like one of the biggest sports in the world, and CrossFit is like clearly not the biggest sport in the world. Maybe it's probably one of the smallest in that regard, but I just
Yeah,
feel like the money is just not there yet, and hopefully it'll come.
yeah,
And then I also think that what CrossFit Media doesn't do well is I just think that like they here's my thing, it's like sometimes they put in so much money, or it looks like they put so much money in CrossFit, but I don't see anything out there.
yeah,
Like I look at like man, those Road to the Game series. I remember there was one with Ben Smith. I remember there was one like I think it was like Tia versus Kara on YouTube.
yeah,
Like there was the ones with like Katrin and all this stuff, man. Like that was good content on YouTube, man. That's what got people hooked. Like there's so much stuff on Instagram nowadays. Like it's cool as
yeah,
competition, but it's like you want to see more. And I feel like CrossFit could do more, but they
yeah,
just don't do it. But I also feel like coming back is that now like camps and athletes are investing and are putting out content to kind of like compensate that. Like you look at
yeah.
what Mayhem does with like Scott and Bennett and Frank and Ben, like man, but these guys are machines.
Well,
Like they
yeah,
do a really good job at it. You know what Brandon does with Proven,
yeah,
what Carlos is doing now with HWPO. I feel like more and more people are like going out and like programming companies or camps just like putting the content out themselves, and it's good. But if these people weren't there, and if these like programming platforms didn't invest in this content, like there would be nothing out there.
bro. That's the thing. I feel like that's what's like I just watched that documentary that they put out from Mayhem from the season last year. And I've met Bennett and I've met these guys. So like I'm so impressed because it's basically the modern version of the fittest on earth, right? Because
Yeah.
before CrossFit Media, half of them were fired in 2019. Like you could follow these athletes during the season. It wasn't just like a highlight reel of three athletes during the games. Like you'd follow them in their box, like you'd see them train, like you could get emotionally involved. And then when you'd watch the fittest on, you'd be like, fuck, like it
Hmm.
was like such a crescendo thing. And now, like, and that's why even though like I like what I don't always watch it, but the Buttery Bros, that's what they're trying to do by doing these tours and like going to these athletes' boxes and just like showing us what's out there, kind of like their own version of like the fittest on earth, what they did before, but on a YouTube form, like, um, and I don't want to, brag, but without what you do with Gabby and Christoph and Lazar, and without Carlos and Bennett, what they do with Mayhem and HWPO and me with Krieger and everything, like you'd have, like you said, you'd have no idea
Yeah.
up until semifinals at least.
Like man, honestly, like just out of my head, man, there's so many cool stories that you could have gotten to. And honestly, like I don't even feel like from a budget perspective, it would be like, and maybe I'm completely wrong. I might be totally wrong, but I don't think like it would be like how to say like too hard to put together. But man, so many cool stories. Like I might be biased in this one, but like the Dukic brothers living in like a small village in Serbia. Ariel Lowen living in the middle of Texas, training out of her garage. Vellner, who's like been like basically like so consistent for years.
Yeah,
Like Gabby and Laura training together. That's a cool story. Like, and then man, like there's so many cool stories to go out and tell to the world. Like man, Yella's story is like unreal. Like in a small
yeah,
town here in Belgium, in his
yeah,
passing. And this is what I like, what CrossFit France did this year. So shout out to Didier because he did a really good job at that. It's basically they put up a mini series kind of like road to semifinals with Claudia and Victor and Guillaume. And I think these were like great videos. And I
yeah.
feel like there could be more of these videos done because from a production standpoint, it's not an Instagram reel, it's not an Instagram highlight that you can do in a day. It will take a bit of work to do,
Mhm.
but it's good for the community. And I feel like these videos, like if they went out on the CrossFit Games channels, like it would really, really help.
And it would totally be worth being on there, like what Didier did. I
Yeah.
agree. Like, great.
And then
Watched
going
all
on
of them.
yeah, sorry, I'll let you finish.
No, no, no. Like, I just wanted to say, like, you're right. Like, there's so many stories to be told, and would be great to have like more of that and to get people more emotionally, because I feel like, they want to get more eyes on CrossFit, right? The goal is to make the sports grow, right?
Yeah.
And more eyes means like more people invested in the season, watching semifinals, getting more people watching the live stream, which in result will give more exposure to the brands that sponsor these competitions and all that stuff. And like, if you want to get more eyes on the season and what's going on, and then get more people invested in the CrossFit games that happen in August and all that stuff, like,
Mm.
I think this is so important.
Yeah, and I think like also like another point is also like the idea of like even getting people in affiliates, because at the end of the day, like that's what CrossFit wants. CrossFit wants to get more people in affiliates.
Yeah.
And I feel like a great example is what the Mayhem team did with the Heart of Mayhem, where they highlighted different people who go to CrossFit Mayhem, who have a story, who changed their life through just the CrossFit methodology and CrossFit training. And also, I think these are amazing stories to share. You know, I feel like you need to find a balance with like CrossFit Games and like CrossFit Health. I
Yeah.
think that's what CrossFit as a company are trying to do. But on both ends, I think it's very, very important to do. And also like
Yeah.
highlighting more of like affiliates and regular people and
Yeah.
just cool stories that happen inside affiliates. I think that's very important too.
Yeah. And of course, like, everybody likes to complain. We all have complaints, and it's normal. We're humans. We're in this industry, so we've got our troubles and stuff like that. But, I wouldn't pretend to know how to run this shit. Like, whether
No,
that's media or competitions or whatever. The amount of work, the amount of organization, staff, like, you know, I don't even want to get too much into it, but it's like, so we're not saying that like, oh, we could do it better. We're just
no,
like,
absolutely not. It's just ideas. It's just putting ideas
yeah,
out there and
yeah. And
whatever
I
gets
like that they're trying to professionalize the sport by maybe giving less media access. I just got the media email for the games, for the forum and stuff. Like, what do you think? What's your view on media access? Because I feel like there's two sides of this coin.
honestly like I feel like this. I'm gonna build on what Scott said recently. I feel like this past year at the games, like the access was good. Like I feel like North Park is a good setup, and I feel like also like the pit, like it's not the biggest pit, but it's still good. And I feel like you also kind of want to go out of your way and get a seat at some point to shoot, which you did, I did as well. I think the access is good. Like I think it also depends on like the logistics of each venue. Like man, like honestly, the access at what was it? It was the at Syndicate Crown looked perfect. You had a
Yeah,
big pit around the floor, no problem. Like, mate, like I don't think like I feel like there needs to be the least amount of people possible on the floor, just because it makes the spectator experience better, the viewer experience better, the
yeah,
broadcast gets better.
yeah,
The least amount of people on the floor, the better it is, because there's already too many people, man. When you have like 10 teams going on, you have a judge, you have the broadcast, like it's already a lot of people.
yeah,
It's just like as long as for me, as long as the media pit is big enough where people don't need to like push each other and stuff or like go like this over people, like I think it's
yeah,
fine. So I feel like at the games this past year was good. Um,
yeah. I
I
agree.
feel like they did give out a little bit less media passes. Um, but I'm very curious to see how it's gonna look in Texas. I'm very very curious.
Yeah, man. First of all, it's gonna be hot. And also, like, I saw in the email they said there was no media pit, or like, did you get the email yet?
No, I didn't. I didn't actually write in, but like, oh, no media pit, great. Here we go,
Like,
back to the stands.
yeah, I think it's gonna be something like this. Like, we'll have seat assigned or something. I don't know how the Dickies arena is, but it's gonna be funny to witness. But what I like with this situation is I kind of made it my own brand, right? Is you make with what you have, right?
Yeah.
In the end, you'll always have competitions like Rogue, for example. You can tell me more about that, because every time I see you guys out there, I've never been. It looks like for media hell.
So, so Rogue is an interesting one because Rogue is a great event, and the whole Rogue team puts on an outstanding event for an outstanding experience for the athletes and the
Looks like it.
coaches and the spectators. The constraint is very simple. It's basically unless you're a sponsor, you don't get access to the pit. That being said, though, Rogue is one of the rare places where when you go, man, you have an awesome media room to work with. It's good Wi-Fi, big tables, more than enough space for everyone to sit down. The only thing is, you need like a 4 to 600 millimeter lens. But if you're able to work with that, man, I think you can get some good stuff.
Did you
It's
rent a lens for that?
no, so I have like this bazooka here. I think it goes like 150 to 600, so I use that.
Oh
Um,
shit.
but then I mean, you need like then you it's like the only time you'll see me walking around with a tripod or a monopod because
Yeah.
you need that. So
Yeah.
no, in absolute term, and also like for Rogue, like if you want to buy seats, you can buy seats, and like then you can get very close to the floor.
Yeah.
Um, and it's very simple. If you have a seat and you have a camera and you have a media pass, you can sit there. There's no problem. So I think Rogue is fine. Like
Okay.
it's not the worst, put it that way.
Okay. Yeah, I think Wodapalooza is the worst.
Yeah, so Waterpalooza is a completely different story because there it's like it's hard.
It's fun though, but Jesus. But it
Oh
leads
man,
us.
I'm so happy I didn't go this year, man. When I was seeing all the rain, I was like, oh man, I was at home watching the events
It
from my
was
bed. I
pissing
was like,
rain too.
I was all confident. I was like, it's pissing rain. The only thing I was a bit sad is that I didn't get to obviously go with Gabs and Christoph, and I
Yeah,
would
of
have
course.
liked to see that. But man, when I saw like the rain stuff, I was like, oh, I'm
Bruh.
good at home.
But it made for some great shots, man. It made for my favorite shot I've ever taken in my entire career, which was a shot of Victor Hoffer looking out on the competition floor. And it was rain. And it's just like a
Oh, that
side
one?
pro. Yeah, it's
Yes,
my favorite
that's
shot
good.
I've ever taken. And that one got like so much attention. I was like, it's the first time I started like really doing photography. So sometimes, rain can create that. That's really cool.
Oh man, you can do
Uh,
some really cool stuff with rain.
yeah,
You can
man.
like yeah, at Rogue as well. Like it was raining this year, and like you would see like people sending on the Echo bike under the rain. And the only
Bro.
thing I'm not a fan of is that kind of like it for the athletes. It's kind of like sometimes they have to change the workouts, and it's not.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, it's
sometimes it
not
can
the
play in your
best, of
favor.
course.
Sometimes it doesn't play in your favor.
Yeah.
Um,
And I mean, I was with my at what I pose, I was with my FX3 scared to shitless that it would go into like the holes and like whatever. But talking about like shooting stuff, we're gonna get to a question that you actually we were curious about getting. It's like, what are five of your favorite things to shoot?
ooh, that's a good one. I think
And I
there's
mean
very
in the sport, of course, it can be a movement or it can be a competition or it can be anything.
okay. So first of all, if you put me and Gabby on the track, you're gonna get some bangers. That's for sure. Me and Gabby on the track, like it's honestly, like we went to the track the other day and it was so much fun. It kind of like
Yeah.
because so when we lived in Mallorca, we had like this unreal track. It was like a blue track, and
Mm.
there was like the mountains in the background. And every Saturday they would go run loops, and I would go and I would be like, I would just take the pictures, and the pictures looked unreal. And yeah, so whenever Gabby runs and I'm at the track, like it's gonna be some bangers.
Okay. I like that. I
I
like that.
I love filming Mia and Christoph weightlifting. That's like always epic because like you could feel like especially when they're snatching like there's always like this energy in the room so it kind of makes like you kind of like get soaked in the energy when you're shooting. So that's like really really epic. And the thing is like they both move so well that basically like it just makes for really good content. It's like like when they're gonna snatch heavy or clean jerk heavy like it's gonna be a nice clean and jerk. It's gonna be a
And
nice
Christoph
snatch.
always puts on a show.
Yeah. Yeah, but like even like in training, like he puts in the energy, which is quite nice. He won't scream, of course, but like you can see like he's locked in his doubt, and it's nice to shoot.
Yeah.
What else? One of the things I love, especially like, is just like hanging out with Lazar in the gym and shooting him. Like I just with Lazar, I just love shooting like raw clips of his training because he puts in just so much intensity. And
Yeah.
sometimes, like, yes, the edit is good, but sometimes just keeping the clips raw with him just shows how much intensity he puts in the training, which I love doing, and like heavy
Yeah.
breathing and like all that stuff. So that's one thing I love to shoot. Um, Other than that, in general, I really like shooting at CrossFit Glass House
Yeah.
where Gabby and Laura train because that's like
Looks like a cool gym, man, but the light seems tricky.
it's very tricky because the thing is you have so many windows. Like it's just basically it's a glass house,
Yeah.
so you just have like all windows, but it's so nice in there, and I love shooting. Um, in that gym. So that's one of my favorite things to shoot is CrossFit Glasshouse in general. Um,
And at
one thing
competitions,
at comp if before I because like there's my favorite comps to shoot. One thing I do love shooting though. I don't do it very often, but I love shooting like my crew at my gym.
yeah.
Like now we did like qualifiers not too long ago for like this competition, and then like sometimes I'll go and I'll just like put on a workout and I'll just take like pictures for the gym, and it's just so much fun because you see like weird faces and like all that stuff, but also like it's just cool to see like celebrating the community. I feel like the other day we were doing this qualifier and this one girl like she hit like a decent complex, but she was so happy when she hit the complex and made for a really, really cool picture. And for me, it's also nice. Like it's one of my favorite things to shoot is just like just just friends who are not elite athletes. Like it's fun for me to do. I just no one asks me to do it. I just go and do it for fun. Um, so that's one of the things I love
Cool.
shooting.
I love those
Um,
answers, man. I think it's like
and
a very wide range of like specific
yeah,
things.
man, it goes. I'm very like yeah. It's just a wide range. It's just at the end of the day, I feel like the common denominator is that I just like shooting my friends.
And vibes.
Yeah,
Yeah, I love
it's
that.
just
I'm the
that.
same. Yeah. So there's like a bunch of questions. Like I don't want to filter anything because like it's always questions when I hear podcasts and there's sometimes media invited. It's questions that I wanted to ask and I've never heard them, right? So I'm gonna ask them all. What do you think is the biggest mistake you've made in your industry, and what did you learn from that? Or a few of like mistakes where you're like, holy shit, but I learned so much from that mistake. It can be like shooting an event or how you behaved or like approached a shoot or someone or anything, if you have an answer for that.
Over investing in gear.
Yeah.
Oh, like yeah, no, for sure, man. Like, man, there was a point like I dug myself in like a financial hole because I just over invested in gear. Like, I thought I needed that lens, I thought I needed this, I needed that, and then I was like, nah, you didn't need it.
Yeah.
Like, you just dug yourself in a financial hole for nothing.
Yeah. That's something we can also communicate to like some creators out there who may be like starting. It's like it's cliche to say, but it's not about the gear, it's about how you use it.
Yeah,
Right.
and it's yes, it's nice to have a 400 2.8. Like, man, we gave a 400 2.8 to Flo Papas like at Berlin like 2 years ago, man. That guy knocked the media pit out in like one picture. It was
Yeah.
crazy. But like then it's like honestly like and like I mean you saw me at semifinals, very minimal setup, 7200 FX3, just go.
Yeah. Yeah. Same.
So
Like
yeah.
I don't
I
think
mean
there's
there's
like
some stuff that's
a
good to have.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I don't think there's like a wrong setup to have. Obviously, like if you look at Bennett or Carlos or Kevin, they always like get the big rig, of course. But I think it's because also they shoot more horizontal documentary style content. So of course, like they'll get more like deeper into it. But there's no wrong or right setup. But I do agree that like if you're good at shooting with just your body, your 24/70 or your 200s, and you can make good content with just that, no fancy light, no fancy side things or like stabilizers or whatever, then you got it all right.
Yeah.
And you can catch the like, I don't know how these guys with the stabilizer can
Mate,
like
so much respect for these guys. Like, man, that stuff is hard to control. It's
a
heavy.
100%.
No,
Like
like
I
I
know
mean
you
like
told me once you tried it in Dubai.
yeah, there was a year in Dubai, man. Like I was like hustling with the gimbal, and then we brought in Chef Jeff for the documentary, who like who just
Yeah.
did all the gimbal stuff. No, I think it's like my mistake was just to overinvest in gear and just buy stuff that I didn't necessarily need, not necessarily like lenses. Like I
Yeah.
feel like I have a good collection of lenses. Like I have like a 2870 Tamron, I have a 20 mil wide for like interview style, I have a 50, 85,
Yeah.
and 7200.
Yeah.
But then it's more like just like trying to the small stuff that you think you need, but you don't. Maybe like you need like an XLR mic or you need this, you need that. Like, yes,
Yeah.
it's good to have, but I feel like it's easily put on a pedestal. Like,
Yeah. I
but you
agree.
know, I at least for what I do, I don't need it.
Yeah. Same. I used to bring my Pelican case like everywhere and everything, but now, man, I just have my body, two lenses that I still keep in there. Like I, I still bring like this with
Yeah,
me, but I don't bring my Peli anymore. It's I mean, it's too much space.
So
But
I
yeah,
have this one rule. I have this one rule of thumb with gear. It's basically like I need to be able to fit all my gear in this GoRuck backpack. So all my gear plus
shout
my
out to
training
Barack.
stuff needs to fit in there. Shout out to Lazar, nice little gift from Rogue.
Yeah,
Um, no, so like I need to be able to fit like when I travel, I need to be able to put everything in one backpack.
no, I agree. I think it's just easier. Um, do you have like a challenge for yourself or an out of comfort a comfort zone, sorry, thing you'd like to get into in the near future, like in terms of content or something you'd like to try yourself at? Could be not CrossFit.
I want to shoot. I want to shoot Formula One. I think that's my biggest dream. Is to do Formula One content. Um, in terms of shooting, that's like one goal I have for myself.
Mhm.
And then if I have like another goal is we're very 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 far from it, but I would like to believe that one day, when you get 100,000 subscribers on YouTube, you get
A plaque.
the plaque. Well, I would really like to take Gabby's channel to 100,000 subscribers within the next couple of years.
Yo, that would be sick.
It's gonna,
That'd
it's
be
gonna.
sick.
So, hey guys, if you're watching, if you're not subscribed, go subscribe to the channel. We're 95,000 followers away, but I'm hoping that we're gonna keep what we've got going on for the foreseeable future, and we're gonna be able to get there.
Man, I love the hype you bring around her. That's when I first met you, and you were giving out all gas no brake stickers at Lowlands Throwdown. And I think I always try as much as I can to share what you guys do following these athletes and for these YouTube channels because it's so hard to get like eyes on it, right? But what you do with Gabby and like those videos you did with Laura and Glasshouse and everything, like they deserve to be seen. So for sure,
Thank you, man.
whoever listens, go check them out. You see, of course, like with the training program and what the brand like always post and stuff, but you don't see like the little things like that that we do. So shout out to you for that. Um, Earlier you talked about like getting a mental coach, and it's funny because I wasn't planning on it, but there was a question that I had in there, which was, do you have like mindfulness? And you don't have to go too deep into it, or doesn't have to be something that your coach gives you, but do you have like mindfulness exercises that help you stay grounded and like brings you perspective in our industry where I feel like it's easy to get caught up in it?
If I put it very simply, like we might get a strike for this, but I've reached a point where I just don't give a fuck anymore.
That's my
Like, no, it's not that. No, like I'll go to competition. I know what I have to do. I know what I want to do, and
yeah,
generally what I have to do is what I want to do. And if what I want to do is what I have to do, I'm good.
man, love that. Perfect, easy answer. Of course, because it just brings so much less stress on you.
Yeah.
Like you
Like,
just go,
like don't get me wrong. It's not like I'm gonna like do the bare minimum when I work. Absolutely not. It's like
no,
I'm gonna
but you do
always give
what's
my best.
needed.
I exactly. There's a job to be done. I do the job. I have fun doing the job. I enjoy doing the job. That's it.
Yeah, yeah. Cool. Love that answer. There was just one last question I had on there, which I think is an interesting question. What do you wish more people knew about you?
Oh man.
Because obviously, when we walk around competitions, not everybody knows us personally. Sometimes, people see us and how we behave, whatever, but they don't know us, right? So,
What I wish more people knew about me. Here's the thing. I feel like everyone who knows me knows enough as they should know of me.
what do you mean?
Like whatever you know, it's enough. Like
Yeah,
in the sense where it's like, for example, like you know me better than most
yeah,
people, right?
yeah,
Like Christoph knows me better than other people.
yeah,
There's a reason, right, behind it. So I
yeah.
feel like Yeah, it's basically like if
Okay,
I don't
I
think there's
get.
anything I would want people to know more about me. It's more it's like if you know me, like the way you know me is the way you're supposed to know me.
Okay, I completely understand what you mean. Like in the end, it's the people closest to you that matter,
Yeah.
and
I have I have
whatever.
a very small I have a very small circle.
Yeah,
Like in the sense where it's like I care a lot for the people who are in my circle. Like
yeah,
I will go above and beyond for them, whether it's like my friends outside of CrossFit who do like consulting and lawyering and whatnot,
yeah,
or my friends who are like in the CrossFit space. Like I will go above and beyond for them. Like
yeah.
these guys mean everything to me.
Mhm.
But I have a very small circle, but
Yeah,
I
I
really
love that.
value that circle.
I love that because in the end, it's not who cares what the people who don't know you think about you, right?
Yeah.
But it's
I just
just
I'm just excited for the day like these two circles are gonna meet. It's gonna be fun.
yeah, that's funny, man. Like I just had this because, like, for example, a lot of people when they don't know me, they see the beard, they see the neck tattoos and stuff, and sometimes they can like be intimidated or whatever. And then when in fact I'm a teddy bear,
Yeah, you
so
are a
like
teddy bear.
so it's just like something I thought about. Man, I'm done with what I wanted to talk to you about. Before we finish, though, I have a rapid fire quiz.
Let's go.
10 questions, yes or no, or just this or that. You can give a third answer if it's not one of the two, right? Okay, you ready?
Let's go.
Sony or Canon?
Sony.
Small light kit or big rig with accessories?
Small light kit.
2470 or 50 mil?
50 mil.
Horizontal or vertical?
I hate that like everything has gone to vertical because I prefer horizontal, but I guess like the industry's pushed us to do more vertical.
Yeah. Shooting gymnastics or lifting?
It depends with who.
Okay. Local or international comps?
International.
Photo or video?
Video.
Final Cut or Premiere Pro?
Premiere Pro. Because I haven't tried
Manual
Final Cut.
manual focus or autofocus?
Workflow secrets.
Okay. Media pit access or floor access?
Media pit forever.
Let's go, man. Well, man, thank you so much for coming on. This is the first episode. I really hope that the recording went well. It should be okay. Thank you so much for sharing. And I think a lot of the topics are important to be talked about in our industry. And I know some of the guys that work with us alongside us in competitions and stuff like that. They're gonna watch. Um, and I just want to give a voice, to some of us out there. Yeah, and have conversations like the one we had, man. And what best way to start this show to do it with a friend? So thank you, man.
I appreciate you, man. I appreciate doing this. I think it's a cool initiative. I feel it's cool to talk. I like talking like this. Like, man, I could have kept going for another hour and a half if you asked me, but
Yeah,
no, but it's really cool what you're trying to do, and
yeah,
hopefully people can get something out of this. I feel like the last thing I want to give to people is like, hey, just find like an avenue within content creation within CrossFit you're passionate about. If you want to find like some people you to lock in with and just lock in with them and just build the relationships and try to make a friend outside the camera. Like that's like the biggest thing I could give to someone is like just try to build a friendship and then the rest will just follow. So, yep, it gets hard for everyone, but just gotta keep pushing through.
I agree, man. And I hope I'll get more people in Europe. I got the idea. Just want to give a shout out from Carlos. He's got a great podcast called The Content Lab. And and I thought that was so good, so cool that he invited creators and gave a voice to them. So I got the idea from him, and basically I just want to do a bit more of the same, but also get maybe more people from Europe, from Australia. Give more and do as much as I can also to participate in the message, right? So that's what I want to do. Thanks for coming on, man, and I'll see you next time.
I appreciate you, man. Have it a good one.
Yeah, see you in Texas.
Yeah, or probably before.
Yeah, for sure. See you, bro.
All right, take care, buddy.